And it is Wednesday, my dudes. If you are here, you know what time it is. It is time for On the Perf. I'm Max, and with me here is Mr. Reiser. How we doing, buddy?
We're doing good. We had the my least favorite style of training day, which is the one where you haven't shot a gun in like a month and a half and you're going to a major match. So instead of going like, I'm going to shoot doubles or work on movement, you take all three guns to the range and shoot all of them a bunch. And you don't really gain anything doing that.
Yeah, you don't accomplish a goddamn thing.
Yeah, you're just like burning ammo and checking to make sure that you're not a total shit show in any specific place. Like, that's all it is.
But you also come away having not confirmed that for yourself. You're like, I really need another 500 rounds on each one of these guns to really confirm anything that I already know about myself.
Yes. Oh, I actually brought 4 because I brought the bow because we're in the middle of elk season as well. And it was a very extensive range session that accomplished nothing other than like the guns still feel like guns.
Yeah, quick hunting update. Reiser and myself are both still eating tag salad for the winters. So
yeah, we've been super close, but you don't get to be the giant elk by being dumb.
Yeah.
Dude, I got in on one last week. I got full draw at 35 yards. On the herd bull on this herd that we've been chasing around, and standing behind a tree, like one of those trees that has like a big stump and then it kind of like splits, so it's super wide at like 6 or 8 feet, and I could just see the antlers sticking out of both sides as it's like looking around, and I'm just full draw standing there waiting. My buddy's like doing some cow calls behind me, and it just waits for like 60 seconds and then is like, no, this doesn't feel right. And instead of walking either direction, just turned straight around, never even saw its ass. I still just saw 2 antlers going down the trail. And I was like, damn it, dude. Like, such a hard sport, man. Such a hard sport.
Yeah, it's rough. Our season has not started yet. I have been acquiring doe tags, though.
Nice.
Because my like bold strategy on big game hunting is I live where they are, and then I drive to where they are not, and then that's where I look for them.
Huh.
Yeah, it's super aggressive. But
yeah, I feel like there's better ways to do this.
But yes, I am out for some doe blood this year, and I've decided just to like keep it sporty, I'm going to try and only do headshots. So we'll see how that goes, cuz just schwacking them at 30 yards just doesn't seem like that much of a challenge. I like level the playing field a little bit.
You should come on out here. I think I've bumped a deer every day I've been out so far this year. So we've been like inside of 40 yards on deer literally every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so down. I used to like Reiser talks about burnout sometimes in the shooting sport. I actually burned out on hunting. So really like the only hunting I do anymore is I just kind of grab a rifle and wander into the woods late season and see what I can sneak up on. And my success rate is about as good as me sitting in a tree stand. So I got me a 4570, a new 4570 to do that this year. I'm going to thread a suppressor on that and see what we can do.
Nice. I'm into it. Lever gun?
Yes, sir. Because,
attaboy.
Long story short, I may have already referenced this, but I have a really old Winchester 1894 that I was entrusted with safekeeping.
The mountains anymore.
Yeah, so I was like, maybe it's time we buy something a little more contemporary. And I said that a little bit too loudly next to my friend from Silencer Co., and he sent me the can, so then I had to buy the gun.
Whoops.
But
are you running a dot, or are you running like a 1 to something?
Well, that was the other thing, is because I listened to the Vortex Nation podcast when the shotgun dot dropped, and so they were talking about all the things you could do with the new Viper Red dot. And one of the things they said was, oh, you could put it on a 1022. I don't have a 1022, but I was like, now I need a 1022. And the next thing they said was, and you could put it on, like a lever gun. And I'm like, and I had just had this experience with my vintage one. I'm like, oh, yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And so here we are.
Yep, I can get behind that. I think that'd be awesome.
As always, we are brought to you by Atlas Gunworks. And, here's the thing, people. If you have been shooting as much as we all shoot and you're getting towards the end of the season, lots of culminating events here in the fall time. If you're getting ready to go to PCSL Nationals or any of the big 3-gun matches, race gun nationals, something like that, if you got a big culminating event on the end of your season, much like an experience that Riser recently had, those wear parts are about to break your heart. So,
Yep.
Springs are cheap and L's are forever. So check your recoil springs, check your hammer springs, check your shock buffs. All those wear parts, it's a really good idea at this point in the season. Check your wear parts, and if you have a big match coming up that you care about, swap those things out. And if you're going to do that, one-stop shop for all of that stuff for your 1911 style pistols is atlasgunworks.com.
Indeed. And our other show sponsor, Briley Manufacturing. We're so happy that Briley came on board because as soon as Mr. Maxwell gets around to it, we're going to have some new mics. And man, if you guys would see the pre-make ready routine here for the show and understand the agony of Adam Maxwell's microphone situation, they're gonna be nice. But I had an interesting thing the other day. I loaned out my shotgun to a couple of friends of ours, and so they could go out and shoot the last shotgun qualifier with it because they were having some JM 930 issues.
They're having a rough go.
To nobody's surprise. And so they took my old hodgepodge together, half TTI, half Roth Performance Benelli M2. And I was walking them through the chokes, and I noticed I had this weird step in my patterning card. So all the chokes, except for light mod, had like nice incremental changes in it. Like, you know, they grew at a very consistent rate as they went out. And my light mod was like kind of all over the place and wasn't really like in the notch between the cylinder and the improved mod, I think, are the two on either side in my selection. Anyways, it's kind of on its own plan. Like the light mod is just doing its own thing. And I was like, what the shit? I was like, I haven't really looked at this for quite a while because I've been shooting the Dissident. And I was like, I wonder what the hell's going on. And I pulled open the box. Sure enough, the light mod is the only choke in that box that's not a Briley choke. All of them are Briley chokes. The light mod looked like a Briley choke. It's like the extended knurled style choke. Yeah. It came with the gun, so I didn't buy a light mod from Briley when I brought a bunch of chokes for it back in the day. That was a mistake. So Briley chokes, nice and consistent, very consistent. Other than that light mod, I have them in all my guns. And OTP 10 gets you 10% off if you want to go get yourself some chokes. And also, if you are shooting a tube gun, extended chokes are so nice. Just being able to look at your gun and know what choke is in the gun. Just being like, grab the gun and be like, that's a cylinder. I know because it says C right on the side. You don't have to like count the little hash marks on the thing half looking down the barrel of your gun. That's dumb.
Although, pro tip, and I got this straight from Robbie, you may be tempted to be like, oh, I'll get the colored ones that have the little ring on the end so I can tell them apart. Yet you don't want those as much as we shoot. We get the choke hot enough that flies off. So get the black oxide ones. Don't pay the extra money for the little anodized colored ones on the end.
Oh,
I learned that the hard way. But
they're for people who shoot 50 rounds a day, not 200 rounds on a Saturday.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, chokes is like, that's a microns game, kids. Like they're playing. Yes. I've watched Robbie throw a choke tube in the garbage because he thought it got nicked. Now he's works for the source. He probably feels about choke tubes the way I do about optics. But yeah, I saw him. He's like, well, that one's no good. Hucked it in the dumpster. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh. Speaking of optics, I put in my order for a couple enclosed dots because I watched your video on the new enclosed defenders talking about how most people don't need an enclosed dot. It turns out elk hunting, especially if you have a super thwacky exit and your gun is on your chest. I sent Ruben a photo of my dot. Like you couldn't even tell what color the dot used to be. It was so full and like completely full, like a bowl of just debris and stuff from trees.
Oh, like the bark and the pollen and the needles and all that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you could not see the screen at all. So I don't know if the emitter was still fine or not, but you couldn't see the screen. So like maybe that's one of those situations where an enclosed dot's probably a good idea.
Yeah. It's it's weird. I'll share this within the family here. I did that video for the Defender, and I just kind of felt obligated because, well, one, it's just compelling content, and I have the most rounds on one of anyone that's speaking publicly for that first week, and I don't know, just I was due, so I put it out there, and I actually kind of avoid doing Vortex content directly because it's my own personal project, but I put it out there, and like most of the videos I do, mind you, I don't do them for clicks. I get like 100 views, maybe a few hundred views. I did that Vortex dot one like 2,000 or 1.5 like overnight. Boom! I was like, oh well, I guess the people want to know about optics, so we might do a few more of those. As I really try to keep it towards stuff that's compelling and not just be another person doing the shilly stuff. Yeah, there's plenty of people out there doing that. But I got another one in the hopper here, and we launched 2 enclosed pistol dots within a week of each other. So here's the pro tip for you all: unless you specifically want one of the features of the Defender, buy the Venom. You're welcome.
Nice. Solid.
But that's not what we're here to talk about today.
No.
First order of business. Sports Center time. Break it down for me, Riser. What the heck happened in South Africa?
We need to get through a Gary before we get to South Africa.
Dang it. I did it
Damn
again.
it, Maxwell. You had one job. Gah.
I think my thing is going to be trying to skip over the Gary. You're going to be like, no.
I got a Gary of the day from DJ Petro. He didn't mean to give me a Gary of the day, but he did on a phone call today. So the NRA World Shooting Championship just happened. Not the same as the IPSC Handgun World Championships. Totally different deal.
Yeah.
So the NRA World Championship is like kind of a bring all of the sports together and have one big match where you do like one stage of each of the sports. So there was a 2-gun stage, there was a PRS stage, there was an NRL 22 stage, there was a USPSA stage, so on and so forth down the line.
Yeah.
The Gary of the day, Greg Jordan, not the Gary, but this story is about him. So
not dead, by the way.
Not dead. Also, we miss you, Greg. He went off and started doing what's the sport where you do CrossFit and then you shoot some guns?
Oh, is that where he went?
Yeah.
Oh, he went to tactical games.
Yeah. He's been rocking the tactical game stuff. I mean, he is a specimen of a man, so I can understand. For a while, JP wanted me to do the tactical game super bad, and they're like, "Dude, we'll fly you to a match." I'm like, "I'm 5'4" and I weigh 135 pounds, dude. If the competition is carry heavy shit, I'm gonna get massacred. Like, this is not my sport, you guys."
Is there a lightweight class? Like,
if it's by body weight like wrestling, I'll be fine. Outside of that, if I'm competing against Greg Jordan at running, fasting, carrying shit, no. Like this is not my sport. But so Greg Jordan was at the NRA World Shooting Championship. He got 3rd place despite getting a stage DQ. And the reason he got a stage DQ is that he was shooting the 2-gun stage. And because this is an NRA sanctioned match, the safety rules are a little overkill. So he got a stage DQ because he finished shooting the pistol, went to dump it in the container. It is a super weird pistol where you can't manipulate the safety with your hand like you normally would. You have to manipulate it with your other, hand. And so Greg's like, well, screw that. I'm a 3-gun shooter. So Greg, on the way to the dump barrels, dropped the mag, racked the slide a couple times for the round to come out, dumped it in the bucket, shot the rest of the stage, come back, DQ. Gun was totally empty.
Yeah.
Nothing left in it. But the rules were you either had to do all of that and put the safety on, or do all of that and lock the slide to the rear. That's how you had to dump the gun. Like, it's already empty. It can't get emptier. It is no more or less safe if it has the safety on if it's empty. Come on, guys. Come on.
It's like such a fun thing, just like the people who argue about which carry method helps you point the gun at yourself the least.
Yep.
It's like, guys. Gosh, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a bummer.
I never thought I'd see the day where Greg Jordan was the Gary.
Greg Jordan's not the Gary. I would say the National Rifle Association was the Gary, and Greg Jordan was a victim.
That checks out.
A victim of Garydom. I would say that the RO on that stage was the Gary.
Yeah.
Or whoever wrote the rule set.
Which also, if you're in that position, part of winning the match is judging who is scoring you. Those are people. Gotta read the room. Gotta read the room.
So apparently what had happened was they had read that during the stage brief, and I believe Greg Jordan was in the bathroom.
Oh, so the other Gary of the day.
Not being there for the stage briefing.
Not being there for the stage briefing.
We miss you, Greg. Come back to us.
Yep.
Come shoot multi-gun again. We miss you, buddy.
And I do have an apology to make. I stated in a previous episode that we are really focusing on Garys where people don't get hurt. However, some feelings were hurt. And a Gary of the day has resulted in a nickname locally. We now have a Chalk Mittens.
A Chalk Mittens?
A Chalk Mittens.
Okay. We have a Chalk Mittens.
Someone has called Chalk Mittens to their face.
Wait. So feelings were hurt by the non-getting hurt? Feelings were hurt from the Chalk Mittens Gary?
Oh, yeah. The salt is strong. The salt is strong.
Well, then those dudes just need to harden the fuck up. So,
well, there you go.
Maybe protect your feels a little bit, and I don't know what to tell you.
Suck on that, Mittens, and I look forward to your text in 4 days.
I have no sympathy. All right, Sports Center time. So South Africa match went down. IPSC handgun world shoot. We haven't been doing a whole bunch leading into this one because that's not. I don't know. It's kind
not
of
our bag,
but
baby.
Not really. Yeah, it's not our bag, baby. And we've been talking about rifle and shotgun stuff and everything else, and there's too much. So we're just going to run through some finishes here. And these are in no particular order. But Williams sisters, both of them, got the gold. Justine Williams, good old Justine in green, got the ladies' gold in carry optics. A couple months after getting a gold medal in PCC. I believe that makes her the first person ever to get 2 IPSC gold medals in the same year. Is that correct?
Must really suck winning all the time. Like,
it's got to be terrible. Yeah. So
Justine, like, if you need someone to talk to, like, we're here for you.
Yeah. And then Jay Lease Williams pulled home the gold in, they call it Classic.
Yeah.
It's single stat Classic in IPSC. Pulled home the golden Classic. And she put out a awesome, Maxwell's been talking about, being able to follow along. She put out a very cool YouTube series, a few videos worth of like practice and training and mental stuff like leading up to it.
Yes.
And then an episode a day for each of the days that she was there, and had a very epic thing. She broke her ankle a short time before the match and was still sort of recovering and re-injured it on the spot, and turned out to be quite a drama-filled couple of episodes, and it was super cool to watch. Like, very well put together, awesome episodes. and all the feels, and it was awesome. So
Yeah.
huge shout out to Jaylee's, and then whoever helped her out with those things. Very good production. It wasn't like her mom and dad walking around with a cell phone. It was like very well put together.
I mean, saying that I watched it is saying something. There's a lot of big names that put stuff out that I really just don't watch because I've seen the back of your head and your shoulder blades while you're shooting plenty of times. Like, yep. I don't crave that. No, hers is very well done. And I did watch it. I'm not up to date on it, but I will watch all of it. And Hunter Constantine did one too. I think Hunter Constantine was doing some stuff around that also, which I'm looking forward to catching up on. I know for sure he did one on Jay Beal, which Drink Steve Anderson talks about him quite a bit, and so I don't really know much about Jay Beal. So I'm looking forward to learning more about Jay Beal, other than for some reason he runs around barefoot on Legos while he dry fires.
I did see that dry fire clip. It just came through my Instagram. I was like, this is the best thing I've seen on the internet today.
He does that a lot. And I don't know. I'm looking for
that. That wasn't a joke for the video.
No, that's a thing. That's a thing that he does a lot.
Why?
I don't know. I gotta watch the video. Hopefully they get to the bottom of it.
Oh my god,
I'm guessing it's some kind of pain complex or distraction thing. I think he may also be one of those people that doesn't wear shoes very much. So like it might just be like a toughen up kind of thing. I don't know. But I look forward. I hope it's in the video.
This is like the pistol version of Jean-Claude Van Damme kicking the tree in Bloodsport.
Yeah. Or doing the splits between the two semis. One of those.
Yeah. also that. All right, on down the list. Ladies production optics team, gold medal. Men's production optics team, silver medal. Men's classic team, which also Jay Lease was on the overall classic team. So both of the Williams sisters are now the only females to ever make the men's overall team. So that's pretty sick. They are crushing very hard. So classic team got gold. Christian Saylor took home the Golden Open. The Open team got gold. Mason Lane took home the gold in production. The production team got silver. Michael Pogge took home the golden revolver. The revolver team got gold. The standard team got silver. What is the difference between standard and classic?
Standard
is standard limited?
Standard's
standard's limited. Okay. Standard team got silver. Open super senior team gold. Open senior team gold. Open lady team silver. So a lot of medals coming home back to the U.S. I hope they don't get dinged too hard on tariffs. Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
And we have firmly established that gingers are the master race of shooting. So
yes, yeah, it's clear. It's clear. What else is going on? I taught a little LEO class. It was a class for the instructor cadre of one of our local departments, and pretty awesome. Like it was half like this is how you get better at shooting, and then half like this is how you get other people to get better at shooting. So it was a very different class than I've ever done before, because it was a lot of like teaching how I teach. So like show a thing, and then like this is what I'm looking for when I'm looking at the student. This is the things I'm kind of looking for. And for, I've had a lot of cops in classes, and I've been to, a lot of cop matches and stuff like that. And this crew is definitely not what you think about when you think about a group of cops in a shooting scenario, because everybody there like very much wanted to learn, very much wanted to get better, and very much wanted to learn how to teach other people. And it was awesome. So shout out to that department for giving me that opportunity. That was super, super fun. And I had a blast there. That was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think in the short time that I've been in the space, I do think we've seen quite a paradigm shift in what law enforcement firearms training looks like. Still got a long ways to go. got a long ways to go. But yeah, there's definitely lots of people doing a lot of good work out there, and I think it's coming out on the other end. So yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it was really interesting. I think the big breakthrough for several people there was shooting with an occluded dot. It showing people like, oh, I'm staring at the dot the entire time. If you've been doing it long enough, you can just figure out when somebody's looking at the dot and when they're not looking at the dot. And it was pretty interesting to ask oh, why do you think that this particular problem is showing itself? And I'm like running through a bunch of answers. I'm like, I think you're just looking at the dot. And I'm like, I'm definitely looking at the target. I'm like, okay, well, let's find out.
Yeah, okay.
And then tape that up, and then they're like, oh no, I'm definitely just staring at the back of the dot. Like this. Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I told you.
So it's cool to see just the light bulb go on, and that oh, holy shit, yeah, he's not kidding. This is for sure what I'm doing. But I think that's gonna
that is
hopefully one day those people teach other people that learn things and do better at their job.
That is a super cool breakout moment that you can repeat on demand kind of to show people that, because I started using that when I teach red dot handgun. I do that as soon as you're zeroed. We pretty much start doing that right away. It's almost punitive now, because I was doing some classes and we were shooting. Invariably, it's some salty old timer, and we've been shooting for 4 hours. All right, and the dude's and I'm like, hey dude, blah blah blah. He's struggling on his side, and he's like, oh, well, I just been shooting irons the whole time. It's like, dude,
wait. So he has a dot on his gun, but he's just shooting the co-witness irons?
Yeah, and he's in class. He's in a red dot handgun class to learn how to shoot red dot handgun, and he just said, F it, I'm using the iron sights. And it's like, okay, guy, you are the reason that nobody gets to look through their window ever. All right?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to get tape from now on. Step on up here, get your masking tape, and we're just going to shoot occluded.
Funny. And
so now, with students who don't know that, and they're like, oh, so can we take the tape off now? I was like, nope, you can take the tape off when you leave.
Yep.
So
yeah, well, I gave I basically we had a section in the class where we just covered up everybody's dot and then started doing that, and we just did it for a couple of drills, and then and I was like, all right, you guys can take off your tape if you want, and most of the people were like, dude, this is awesome, I'm just gonna leave it on.
This is working
because it shows me when I'm doing that. I'm like, yeah, I mean that's the point of it. So, but yeah, it was was super cool.
You know what also warms my heart? Occluded dots has gotten to the point that match directors are now designing stages that will mess with people who have occluded dots.
Oh, there's a vision barrier on the left side?
Yeah.
I did learn. Somebody asked me if I occlude the dot on my rifle as well, and I to be clear, I don't occlude my dot when I'm usually if I think I might be having a vision thing, I'll do it just to check, and then I'll do it if I'm shooting into the sun. But those are the only 2 times I do it. But somebody asked about doing it on the rifle, and I'm like, no, it doesn't work on the rifle. I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't work on the rifle? I'm like, well, in front of my left eye is my entire scope. So if you shoot an offset red dot, occluding the dot does not work.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
keep that in mind. Your left eye still has to see something.
Yeah, one of our other gingers here locally, we were showing up to our local match, and he's talking about some port that he designed, blah blah blah, and he's like, yeah, I wanted it to be this way, so if anybody's trying to shoot it with an occluded dot, they couldn't see through. It's like, oh, we've gotten there now. All right,
yeah,
all right.
I feel like you got to get pretty tight to actually have a stage that keeps the occluded dot from working. Also, why? Who cares?
Hey,
Let the dude put tape on his dot.
Hey man, they're just
this is why we can't have nice things.
They're digging deep to do challenging stuff. So
I guess so. All right. Well, before we get on to our actual topic, I have a really quick listener question. This listener question actually comes from my little brother, who sent me an LQ that was, my little brother's not a shooter. He just listens to the podcast. He sent me a listener question, which is, what is an overlay and why do they always have to be handy?
What's his name?
His name is John.
John? So believe it or not, sometimes scores are in dispute. And so if actually, that's funny. I had to explain this to my mother as well when she was listening to some of the shows. So my mom also knows nothing about shooting. And so an overlay is essentially a credit card sized translucent piece of plastic that has the relevant bullet diameters traced on it with a little dot in the middle of them all. Which, sidebar, I was sitting in one of my RO classes next to a guy who was being paid to be there and didn't want to be there. And they give you two of them for reasons we'll explain later. But he had two of those things. He put it next to each other, and he said, "This is a boob chart." And I can't unsee it now. But so we have all those bullet diameters on there, and essentially that's your reference for how big said bullet is when it passes through the target. And then when we get really close to the perforations, or the perf, if you will, when the bullet holes get really close to the perforation, sometimes it's debatable as to whether the bullet touched the perf or not, which would affect how that bullet is scored. So they have these overlay cards with the bullet diameters on them that they will center on the hole, and that is a reference point for where the bullet passed through. And sometimes the bullet holes in the cardboard are actually smaller than the actual bullets. The thing kind of grows and shrinks around the bullet as it passes through. So because we're tearing cardboard with bullets, and cardboard doesn't always tear perfectly depending on what kind of bullet you use, they have these cards that are used as a reference. At major matches, at major USPSA matches, swear to God, all three ROs on the stage have them in their pockets ready to go. But at a club match or a section match, sometimes lower grade matches, it's more informal, so they tend not to be around. So sometimes this happens a lot here, doesn't it, guys? Locally, on like a Tuesday night, they'll be looking, oh, that's an alpha. Nope, that's Charlie. Oh, it's a perfect double. So someone was like, well, get an overlay. Is anyone standing here having an overlay? Everyone pats their pockets. Nope. Well, get an overlay. We're not done until somebody gets an overlay. Somebody has to run to the back of the range. Oh, who's got one? Oh, I have one in my range bag over in my truck that's 50 yards away. Okay, well, go get it. We'll wait. So sometimes it kind of turns into a thing to go find one of these to settle a dispute amongst friends. That's why you want to keep them handy, especially if you're the kind of person who's going to like sweat the small stuff. Kind of behooves you to have that thing in your pocket, because we'll be like, oh, well, I think it's Charlie, and could you overlay that, please? Oh, I don't have one. Okay, well, here's mine. Now they have to overlay because you got one handy, and it just makes it a better experience for everybody. But we're determining whether a bullet hole touches a line based on its true diameter, or we're trying to determine if two bullets passed through the same hole, which does happen, but not as often as it gets scored as such. So if a hole is a little bit oblong, the reason you keep two overlays handy, that's why you keep your overlays handy, is if you have two of them, you're trying to touch both or different creases or radius in the hole to see if those two circles on those two cards, in fact, separate enough that we could say, yep, those are two bullet holes versus one oblong torn bullet hole. That's what overlays are used for.
There you go, John. The more you know.
Yep.
Picture the more you know rainbow. Dun, 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 dun.
Also, extras for experts. I guarantee you, if it's a target, it's one of those ones that's like on the ground and you shot it from 3 feet away and there's one hole on it. I guarantee
it's going to be oblong.
I guarantee you that's a perfect double, because there's no way that you went bop bop at 15 hundredths of a second and your gun recoiled so much that you missed the entire target. So like sometimes it behooves you to kind of spread those things out, because I have seen it on multiple occasions with high level GMs. And it happened to me one time, and an AMU guy, Jacob Hetherington, he's like, dude, no, that's a perfect double. It was like, you're not going to, they overlaid it, and they're like, oh, nope, Alpha Mike. He's like, that's a perfect double. He's like, there's no way the gun recoiled that much that you missed it. But he's like, the way the game scored,
yeah,
you shoot it that fast, that close, he's like, pretty good chance it's going to happen every once in a while.
Well,
so it doesn't catch everything.
Yeah, it's becoming more of a problem actually with the new like bearing delay PCCs with like the JP in the mean arms, because you can shoot like 12 splits and they don't move.
Right.
And then also with modern comps on rifles, as little as they move. I actually got hit with one of those on the Nauticop match out here. Literally like 4 foot open cardboard, but I think I shot an 11 split, I think is what the timer said. And I was like, I don't think that if I was swinging the rifle as hard as I could from one side to the other and I shot an 11 split, I could get the second round off the paper. I was like, there's no way. And we got it on video. Like, you can see the rifle clearly not moving at all with this giant piece of cardboard 4 feet in front of me. And I'm like, there's no way that went anywhere except through that same hole. So we're like, sorry. So
yeah. And I would say like, what would you say? Like in the last 2 years, I think the sport has evolved. The sport and the equipment has evolved enough where that's kind of becoming more of a mortal thing to do.
Yeah.
Whereas, like growing up in the sport, every single person that argued a perfect double was just a shyster who missed, pretty much.
Yeah, 100%.
They were being a dick about it. But now, like it's a thing. Like it probably happens to Max Leograndes more often than not. If he's not careful. But like when you got those kind of skills, it's also like time to, hey, got to be a little careful, because this is still scored by people, and like they still have to lay those things on there and see some separation. Otherwise you're getting a mic.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to talk about today, now that we're through all of that, like I mentioned before, I kind of have it front of brain. I am getting into loading a new caliber for me. So I'm just going through all the process of developing a new load in a new caliber. So I thought this would be a good time to talk about kind of like intro to reloading stuff and how we would actually develop a load if hand loading is something you're going to do or thinking about getting into.
Well, first question, what caliber are we talking about?
For sake of conversation here, we're talking about 4570, so not something I'm using for competition, which in essence, most of the hand loading that I've done is for pistol cartridges. So really my load development goes straight to power factor and velocity, and trying to hit a good velocity number consistently so that I make minor or major power factor.
Yeah.
But now that I'm doing it for a rifle cartridge, which I haven't really developed a hand load for a rifle cartridge, now it's like, well, if I don't have to make power factor, how do I decide what my recipe is going to be? And this kind of led me down that, well, maybe we should talk a little bit about what's all involved with that. And before we get kicked off on any of that, probably the first thing to talk about, if you're listening to what we have to say about hand loading, if you're doing this to save money, shoot us an email at ontheperfpodcast@gmail.com. We're going to send Will Smith to your house so he can slap you. All right?
Yeah.
If you have not hand loaded anything yet and you want to save money at it, again, this is going to be like the Atlas conversation. It's not going to sound like we're saving you money, but we're saving you money.
Yeah.
Go out and buy a 1050 right now. The whole thing. And by the time you make GM, you will have it paid for, and then you will start saving money.
Yes.
So this is a pennies game, folks. This is a pennies game. But what hand loading does do for us, aside being therapeutic and nerdy, you can load some boutique stuff that is not necessarily readily available So if you want something specific, like I load very common calibers. I load 9mm, 40, 45. I could go and buy all those calibers. However, I can't buy what I make, or I can't buy what I make cheaply. So I'm making specific things that I can't necessarily get commercially. It's made to my taste. And also keep in mind that, like, from the cost saving standpoint, if you're trying to save money and you're stroking your handle, you have probably 1 chance in 10 of making something better than is commercial. You have a 8 out of 10 chance of making something that's equivalent to what you can buy in the store. And then you have about a 1 in 10 chance of making something that is worse or dangerous.
Yeah.
All right. So just know that off the bat.
I think there's a couple things going in here. It's like once you have all of the things, like if you take the cost of all of the equipment out of it, I'm loading for about a 50% discount on like what you can buy like 9mm for right now, for example. And probably even a little bit better on 223. But I have 2 presses, a scale, an auto trickler, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff to save pennies per round. So if you're doing it to save money, understand that you have to do it in volume enough that all those pennies are going to add up to actually save you that money. So that's the first like key thing. Also, this is very much like the Atlas conversation. Don't buy the crappy thing because the entire this also costs you time. It costs you a lot of time. And the worse your gear is, the more annoying it is to use, the more often it breaks. And even the really nice stuff, like, I load on an 1100 now, and I had a loading session down here where I was in the basement for 2 hours and I loaded like 90 rounds. I just started cranking away and something broke, and it took me a couple hours to figure out what it was and be able to fix it. And sometimes I can just sit down there for 2 hours and make like 3,000 rounds. So you need to also be a mechanically inclined person. You need to be the person that can just like look at a machine and be like, I wonder why this isn't working, and just figure it out. If you're not that person, loading ain't for you.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Absolutely not. Because your stuff will break. Like, and not super infrequently. Like, it will break more than you want it to by a lot.
Yeah. And if you buy the starter pack, that's all money that's thrown away. Don't buy a rock chucker. Find somebody that already has a rock chucker and is not using it, and play with it for free if you want. But seriously, if you're going to get into it, just buy a progressive machine. In terms of Dylan, that is a 750 or an 1100.
Yeah, I would say for
the
me,
Mark 7 equivalent.
I don't even know if there is an equivalent that I would buy. And I'm not sponsored by Dylan. I don't have a hookup on anything.
Nor am
I would say if you're reloading straight wall cartridges, the 750 is the starting point. And I'd say if you're reloading necked cartridges, or more specifically anything where you're going to have to swage the primer pocket, absolutely go straight to the 1100. If you're loading 223 and you're pulling military swages out of military once fired brass, just the reason I switched to an 1100 is just for that auto swager that's built into the machine. It will save you countless hours in frustration. And my God, those things are they are very annoying to pull out.
Yeah. Like I say, I don't know Mark 7 terminology. If you're interested, hit up Learn to Turnbull. She could tell you.
Oh yeah. You can also go Mark 7 if you don't like money.
But yeah, we're talking progressive machines. Most hobby shooters shoot Dylan. Adam is on an 1100. I'm on a 650, which is an older generation of what is now 750. Rounds per hour. What do you think the difference is between the two?
If everything's really running smooth and I'm really cranking, I could do about 700 to 800 rounds on a 650, and I can very comfortably do 1100 rounds on an 1100. And if I really feel like hammering, I can do more like 1400 in an hour.
Yeah. So you get a bit more production out of an 1100. If we're just talking Dylan machines, you can cross pollinate, but on a Dylan machine, you can get more production out of an 1100. However, in Dylan land, Dylan sees an 1100 as a commercial machine, whereas they see a 750 or the previous generation 650, they see that as a hobby machine. The hobby machines, anything you can break on that thing is warranted, and they'll replace it for free. On an 1100, if you break parts, if you wear out springs, if you wear out a whatever, that's a commercial. It doesn't carry the same warranty. So that would be, a lot of people have made the decision between the two just based on that. But like I said, if you were going to invest today, buy one of those two machines and just roll with it. I'm probably doing enough volume now that I would probably see the value in an 1100. However, I would have to probably load for another 5 or 10 years to recover the cost of upgrading to another machine. So, like, even where I'm at, like, I have a hard time justifying the jump to the next machine just because the margins are so thin on it that this machine's paid for and I'm going to keep cranking on it until I have another reason. And another reason would be, like Adam said, if you're going to get into loading rifle cartridges, which currently I don't do, then a 650 is just fine. But the other thing you got to remember is the faster you can make ammo, the faster you can make bad ammo.
Yeah.
Okay? So part of the reason I don't have a 1050 1100 is because when they go bad, they go really bad. They make a lot of waste.
I have made a batch of 1,000 rounds that I'm like, this is now all practice ammo.
Or worse.
Been like, everything here. Yeah, I mean, I've also made. I haven't screwed anything that up bad in a while, but back in the day when I was still loading on like one of those, I can't remember what other thing I had back in the day, but I had some other press back in the day that always caused problems, and I had. It wasn't quite 1,000. It was like 700 or 800 that I literally had to pull all the bullets and just start over. And like, you don't want that. Like nobody wants that.
And like same thing, like it turns into a value discussion, especially when you're talking about, well, I'm loading to save money, or which machine do I get? What efficiencies do I want? I don't see the value in a case feeder. I don't see the value in a bullet feeder. Because while they will get my cyclic times better on the machine, I still have to handle each one of those pieces of brass, sorting it. And so instead of sorting it all and then dumping it into a case feeder and letting it feed it, I grab a handful of it, I kind of sort it while I'm loading it in there, and then I turn some out, and I grab another handful. So to me, I don't really...
You care way more than I do. I don't sort anything.
Yeah, but there are guys who do. See, there you go. So there's another example. But when a case feeder's having a day, that thing makes a mess.
Yeah,
there's shit everywhere.
Same with the bullet feeder. And bullet feeders are super hard to tune.
Bullet feeders are worse. Yes,
I have both. I have a case feeder, a bullet feeder, and the RL 550, the primer tube feeder.
I want that.
Dude, this is another back to our like price table discussion from a couple weeks ago. I pulled a 650 off a price table, at I think it was New Mexico, and the Dillon guys were there, and this is after I had walked past the rifle to pull a 650 off a prize table previous that same season. So at this point I owned two 650s, and I was like, I don't need a third 650. And so I just walked up to the Dillon guy. This is like some dude had a Dillon shirt on. I was like, do you work at Dillon? And he's like, yep. I'm like, were you in charge of the sponsor stuff? And he goes, uh-huh. He goes, I just pulled this 650 and I really want one of those primer feeders, which is like half as much as the 650. I'm like, can I just hand this to you and you can ship one of those to me? And he's like, totally. I'm like, awesome. And that thing has been great. It's like life-changing. Yeah. It's really sweet.
So the easy button on making whatever kind of ammo you want is a Dillon 750. No case feeder, no bullet feeder. Everything from there will increase your efficiency, but also potentially increase your percentage of waste.
Yep.
Proceed at your own risk.
Assume the first 2,000 rounds that you make are all going to be suspect.
Yes.
Yeah. And do not make 2,000 rounds in your first go. Make like 50. And then go to the range.
And try them.
Yeah. Start slow. I'm sure we're going to do a much bigger, like, actual how-to reload process thing. But what you wanted to know specifically was, like, how to work up a load.
Yeah. So if you have all your equipment, we're not talking about saving money. Like, you have all the components you want to use. You've decided on a bullet. You've decided on a powder. All that stuff. What we're working on is we're going to even say you have a length decided on. Specifically, how do you decide on what powder? The biggest variable you have is what powder charge you're going to throw. How do you hone in on what powder charge you want to use?
So here's what I do. Probably the closest thing that I'm doing is 6.5 Creedmoor, and I actually had to do load development this spring. So this is my process for load development for 6.5 Creedmoor, or any rifle cartridge really. So I will just kind of hunt around the internets or ask a few people, and I will find out like about the charge that people are using, because if it's a common powder, a common bullet, everything else, there will be like a little bit of information. If there's not that, then I will just crack open the good old Hornady book, look down at the cartridge, look at the bullet weight, and then find out, its recommended load.
Which shout out to Hornady. They actually have, Hodgdon. Hodgdon has a really good online resource that shows their powders and other people's powders that gives you starting loads and maximums. So if you don't want to crack open a legit book, half the time when Travis comes over to talk to me at the office, he has me pull up this website so he can show me something he found on Hodgdon's website. But the Hodgdon has a really good resource for this. And It's free.
So good starting split. So what you want is a starting point that just gives you like a ballpark. And this can be like plus or minus 20% depending on all the variables involved. So what I do is I will work up progressive loads starting well below whatever that charge is. So I think if I recall correctly, just digging to the top of my head here, I think I run like 39.7 grains of H4350 and 147 grain Hornady ELDM. So I think where I started at, ending at a 39.7 grain load, I'm not entirely sure that's correct, but I think that's where I ended up. I started at like 37.0. So I literally started like 2.5 grains below where everybody was like, you're going to end up somewhere around here. And so I would go way down, and then I would load up like 3 rounds, and then I would jump 0.3 grains and load up 3 more and jump 0.3 grains and load up 3 more. And then I would go past that load. So I would go all the way up to, I think I got to 41. So I ended up with a trip to the range where I had like 3 rounds of 37.0, and then 3 rounds of 37.3, 3 rounds of 37.6, and so on and so forth until I got to like 41. Then I would go out to the range, put out a target. I had 100 yards, set up a chronograph, and with each of these sets, I would shoot a group of 3, and I would shoot them over the chronograph. And then as I went up, every time I ejected around, I would look at that for pressure signs. So pressure signs basically is if there's more pressure going on in the chamber than the brass can handle, then you're going to start getting weird stuff. The first thing to happen is usually you start getting flat primers. So you'll look at the primer and you'd be like, it's all squished and it's like perfectly squished against the back of the bolt face. So it's really flat relative to the back of the brass. So I'll look at one of the earlier pieces of brass that I have, and I'll look at the piece of brass that just came out. And if anything looks really weird, I'll be like, okay, we're starting to get pressure signs. Another one is on like a bolt action Remington 700 pattern rifle. You'll sometimes get an indent from the ejector, because the ejector will kind of push against the back of the brass, and so your brass will all be fine, and then it'll just be like a little round like button mark on the side of the brass. So I'll just like shoot through all of those until I see one that has pressure signs, and I'm like, that's my cutoff point. We don't load this, and we don't go past this, and so the rest of that ammo just gets pulled.
So
then
keep in mind there. So he's talking about pressure signs. Remember, the first step in reloading when you put a spent cartridge in your machine is resizing. Okay, so the whole case, when you light it off, the whole case expands. A certain amount of that is okay. What we're looking for, what Reiser's talking about, is signs that you're getting more than normal expansion. Like he's saying, those that remember my revolver saga from last winter, my 38 short Colt revolver load, which 38 short Colt is essentially now it's used as 9mm rimmed. But when it was designed in the late 1800s, it was never intended to be a smokeless cartridge, and certainly not like this. So it was never intended to shoot a 158 grain bullet at whatever feet per second I'm shooting. So as I made a minor power factor load, I 100% was seeing flat primers on the bottom. And a flat primer, it looks like where your primer normally looks like, I don't know, a marshmallow in there. This thing looked like a pancake smushed against the back of your breech face. Like, it looks melted and deformed. It does not look correct. You will know when you see it.
Yeah, you'll look at it and be like, the hell? Yeah. And that's usually the first pressure sign. And you can get all the way up to like splitting cases. I did...
Mm-hmm.
I'm super picky on my brass now. I only shoot either Lapua or JP 6.5 Creedmoor brass because I had a bunch of other stuff split on me at a super reasonable load. Like, it didn't even make power factor for NRL Hunter, but I split some cases and basically flame cut the inside of a chamber and like ruined a rifle.
Yep.
So like if you overcook it, even if you don't blow the gun up, you can definitely ruin a rifle. And then, like, best case scenario, you're just going to get way less life out of your brass. And if it's something like me shooting 6.5 Creedmoor, you shooting 45-70, like, you're going to want to be able to reload this brass quite a few times.
Yeah, and if you stay, like he said, this is early warning signs of high pressure. So if you stay within common dimensions of the caliber, within recommended powder charges from the powder manufacturers, and you start to see this is like the first time that your car dings at you because you're running out of gas. Like, you got a long way to go before bad things happen, but this is the first sign that, like, hey, you are entering the danger zone. You should not progress past here. So you're not going to blow yourself up. But like Reiser said, he walked up to that point, and when he saw that sign, that's when the dog drops its ears and growls at you a little bit. That's like, nope, do not pet. Yeah. Do not pet.
Yeah, just think like Kenny Loggins rocking Highway to the Danger Zone.
Yep.
So that's the back off point. Like, okay, I don't want this load. And then also for my sport where this starts mattering is NRL Hunter or PRS. The other thing that high pressure rounds do to a bolt gun is they create a lot of bolt lift, so it's harder to unlock that action on the upstroke of the bolt, because it compresses the lugs into the back of.
So the cartridge expands so much that it makes it harder to cycle the bolt and eject it.
Yes.
Oh, I've not heard of that.
Yeah. So that's a thing, and that's a problem with bolt guns in those sports because all the weird positional stuff you do, you want to be able to run the bolt without disturbing the gun.
Yeah, they flick that thing up with just like their index finger.
Yeah. So if you can't do that, that's a huge problem. So these are the two things, or those are the things that I'm looking to avoid. So that sort of gives me, so that kind of gives me my guardrails, right? The low end, of course, is always going to be fine, and then the high end is going to be wherever you start getting pressure signs. I'm like, I actually step it down 0.3 from there, and then I call that my new high end, and I take those other rounds, and there'll be like 12 of them, and I'll just like pull them. And then where these pressure signs start happening depends on the brass you're using, depends on a bunch of other stuff, depends on the gun you're shooting, the chamber, how it's cut. Like it'll vary from gun to gun. So it's not like you're going to get to 40.6 on a 6.5 Creedmoor and it's always going to be that. It varies a lot. So you want to find this personally. And then, so I figure out, okay, this is my high point. Now my low point, where I'm willing to go depends on what I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to, like an NRL hunter, you have to make a power factor. So that's where the chronograph starts to come in. So I'm like, all right, I don't actually make power factor until I get to 38.6. So I can't go below that. And then I can't go above 40.5. I'm making these numbers up, but so this is now my gate, right? So now what we're trying to find out is inside of these wickets, where do I actually want to make my load? This is where nodes come in. So if you think about, so you take your velocities, because you shot it past the chronograph and then you shot it into a target. So you have two pieces of information from this. You have a group size, which, can vary based off of, human fallacy. And then you have the chronograph, which should be pretty reasonably accurate. So based off of that, for every single load, you have a group size and a velocity or set of velocities from your three bullets. So you have a standard deviation and an extreme spread. I just look at extreme spread at this point. And what you'll find is as you go up on these 0.3 grain increments, your group size will open up and your velocities will get farther apart. And then your group sizes will shrink down and your velocities will get closer together. And then they'll open up again and then they'll get closer together again. And these are called nodes.
So the bullets are spreading. The bullets are spreading difference, but also your variation in velocity shot to shot is varying also?
Correct. Generally speaking, these two things will happen at the same time. So you can just look at your data, and if you just have your group size on one line and your velocity on the other side, you can see your groups go up and down in size, and you can see your velocities go up and down in size, and they'll happen together. And so at this point, we're still 0.3 grains apart, but you can usually see this in your data. You see them go up and down. And then quick little side tangent here. You want to make sure that all these groups and stuff are fired under about the same conditions. So you don't want to just bang out these 30 rounds in one go. You want to shoot your 3, let the gun cool, shoot your 3, let the gun cool, so they're reasonably at the same time.
Yep.
In the past, people have done weird ass shit like ladder shooting, where they'll literally shoot one of the first one of the second one of the third one, and they'll shoot all the way through in one pass, and they'll shoot all the way through in another pass. I don't like doing that because for a lot of reasons. But so anyways, just let the gun cool down, and then, foul it with a few rounds before you start shooting it. So the first group isn't on a totally clean barrel. So then you have your nodes. Then what I generally do is I will look at these nodes, and what I usually go towards is like, okay, which one of these is the smallest node that I like that is the closest towards the high end of this, so I get the most velocity that I can, because in long range shooting, 45-70s, that part might not matter, but in 6.5 Creedmoor world, the velocity makes a big difference, right? So I will pick the best node where the group is very tight and the velocities are super close together. That is the closest towards the top end, and then I will load around that. So that's kind of where. So like, let's just say for the sake of this, that was a 39.5 is where that happened, right? I had a 39.5, I had a 39.8, and I had a 39.1. Like those are my 3 at the top end, and and the best one was 39.5 for the sake of this argument. It wasn't in reality. So then I have my number. Now, I want way more information than those 3 rounds. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to load 5 rounds on 0.1 grain increments, 0.3 grains in each direction. So I'm going to start, if 5 is where I'm going to go, I'm going to go down to 1, and I'm going to have 39.1 times 5, 39.2 times 5, 39.3 times 5. And I'm going to do that for like 6 or 3 in each direction, so 0.7 grains worth. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then I have 5 of each from 39.1 to 39.8, I guess it would be. And then I'm going to go to the range. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to shoot that group of 5, then the next group of 5, the next group of 5. And then there should be a best within that. There will be a group that has the smallest 5-shot group and the smallest extreme spread, usually the same one. If they're not the same one and the group isn't just like, for whatever reason, catastrophically huge, I will choose the smallest velocity spread over the group size, because I can negatively impact the group size, but I can't negatively impact the velocity spread. So that's usually where I get, and then I'll load up like 50, and then I'll, go do like a real practice session and shoot them out to distance and stuff like that and make sure everything's working. But like, that's pretty much my process.
Yeah, and what he's looking for there in the nodes, what drives a load that a barrel quote unquote likes for group size is essentially when you shoot your gun, your barrel vibrates like a tuning fork, which for those of you that don't do music, means it whips back and forth on a microscopic level. The whole thing's vibrating, and dialing in on the load that they're looking for is one that the barrel is in a consistent point in its vibration as the bullet exits the muzzle. So we're trying to get so that thing whips the same, and it's at the same point in its vibration as that the bullet exits. Whereas with different powder charges, it may exit once up, it might be down, it might be center, it might be midway, it might be low. So your barrel could be whipping all around, and what would result in a wider group is it's inconsistently exiting due to the vibration of your barrel. So essentially, as you're honing in on this load with the process that Reiser described, we're trying to find harmonically what load gives us the most consistent point of exit.
Yes.
As we let the bullet fly into the atmosphere.
If you've ever seen somebody who's a hardcore bench rest shooter, that there's a giant ring around their barrel down towards the end somewhere, they're trying to do the same thing on an even finer level, where they're actually moving a weight forward and back to change barrel harmonic. Like, they'll do this whole load development thing, and then they'll start moving this weight back and forth to fine tune it even more. So everything is about getting that harmonic vibration to be the same every single time.
Yeah, and approach those guys with caution, because you probably won't have much in common with them.
Yeah. So, and there's a big difference between, like, I think the key thing to understand when it comes to this stuff is one of my very favorite sayings that I bust out every once in a while is perfect is the enemy of done. And the reason that I'm not a best bench rest shooter is I hate that last 3% to perfection. And it, like, the difference between a PRS shooter and a bench rest shooter is a PRS shooter likes shooting and a bench rest shooter likes math.
Yes.
So you don't need a gun that will shoot a group that is the same size as your bullet. Like, you don't need that. Like, if you're shooting 3-gun and it shoots under an inch, that's good enough.
Solid.
Same thing for the game that I do. If it's under 3/4, if it's down around a half, and like, I've always gotten really lucky, it's always been well under a half. But if it was right at a half, I'd be totally fine with it for NRL Hunter, because there's so many variables in positional shooting and wind and all this other stuff. That extra half minute not going to show up anywhere. There was an interview with Tyler Payne, who is the AMU's sniper competitor forever, and occasionally he graced us with his presence at 3.
I ran into his dad the other day.
Oh, nice! Yeah, it was
Shout out, Brian.
Super fun. The first time I shot with Tyler Payne was my first major match at Drink Iron Man, and T-Pain was shooting Trooper Division, and in Trooper Division there's basically no rules. So for his pistol/PCC, he was shooting a full auto JP, and it was like he was shooting spinners and like wedges of steel with a full auto 9mm PCC. It was freaking awesome. I was like, this guy's such a G. But, that was cool.
That checks out.
So he did this interview on some precision rifle podcast years ago, and I don't remember the specifics of it, but they're talking about the gun and the caliber and stuff like that. And I think he's shooting a surgeon rifle at the time, and like the AMU had barreled it, and I don't remember what caliber he was shooting, but it was like a little bit weird. He was shooting like 6 Dasher at a time when everyone shoots 6 PRC or whatever it was. Like I don't know my 6mm world at all. And he's like, oh yeah, I shoot this and I shoot, this caliber, which, is kind of funky, but there was a bunch of it. And they're like, well, how did you choose that caliber? And he goes, well, when I walked into the armory, that was the shelf that had the most, and I was done. And the guy's like, okay. And he goes, well, how accurate's that rifle with that? And he goes, oh, it's about a 3/4 minute rifle. And this is like a $5,000 surgeon rifle. This is like,
yeah.
And the dude was just like blown away. It was like on this dude was like, everything used to be under, 2 tenths. And the guy was just like, he's like, how you're shooting a 3/4 minute rifle? He's like,
does not compute.
You shoot for
does not compute.
He's like, you could definitely go into the shop and they would just make you something more accurate. And he goes, I could, or I could spend that same amount of time practicing. And that's what I choose to do. And at the time he was winning literally everything. So it's like,
and
that's it.
Drop.
It's just, yeah, exactly. So it's like, look, it needs to be good enough, and then stop trying to make it perfect. Just go practice.
Yep.
That's all there's to it.
Which is kind of where I'm at on the pistol stuff. Like I said, I'm looking for a velocity number to get power factor, and I've rarely found a pistol load. I don't know that I've ever made a pistol load that I found to be unacceptably accurate.
Yeah.
Right? I've had ones that were inconsistent in velocity, or temperature sensitive, or condition sensitive, but I've never been like, oh yeah, that's the load because that's the most accurate in a pistol.
Yeah.
I've had some shoot better. I've had some of my pistols shoot better than others with that same load, but with pistol stuff, it has always been, what velocity number am I looking for? And do I get there consistently? Which has been a question mark sometimes. And it varies. It varies because some powders, like we learned this year, are temperature sensitive, and different
some
guns
reverse temperature sensitive,
and some reverse temperature sensitive. But gun to gun, they're all going to shoot like I can shoot the same 45 load out of a handful of 1911s. They all shoot it a little bit differently. I'm working up a 45 load right now. I shot it. I probably had an 8 power factor difference in the same load shooting it through a Wilson Combat and a Les Bear. Les Bear always same barrel. Both 5-inch government guns. Les Bear consistently 8 power factor faster, or 8 more power factor on the same load than the Wilson. And so, which one of those guns is going to be the match gun? All right. Just because it makes power factor in one gun doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make power factor in another gun. Or some of, like right now, everyone's and shout out Atlas Gunworks. Okay, Atlas was the one that made Return to Zero cool. All right, that's their marketing term that everyone latched onto. Nobody was saying Return to Zero before Adam Nielsen. Before we were on this Return to Zero kick and flat shooting guns kick, people had long slide guns back when you were shooting Glock 34s. The reason people shot Glock 34s is they were trying to make minor power factor with lower or smaller powder charges, letting that powder burn in a little bit longer barrel. Some of those things, that's some of the things they were doing. The reason they shot long slide guns, when I first got into the 2011 world, 6-inch guns were a thing. I mean, there were a bunch of people that had 6-inch wide body guns. And that's some of what they were.
So much pistol.
Yeah, which is like, it's so absurd now, but like, man, then you weren't cool if you didn't have a long slide, or even like your first wide body 1911, that DVC-3 gun,
5.4.
Yeah. Man, 5.4 was the thing. 6 is too long, 5 is too short, 5.4. That's it. That's some
now
of what they were
ridiculous.
Yes, that's some of what they were doing at the time. They were trying to make those velocity numbers on smaller powder charges, to do some of that. So on the pistol side, it's always been, how consistent is this powder in making a velocity? And then it's a little bit of a economics discussion, because certain powders are more expensive than others. Vitavori tends to be an expensive powder. It tends to be very consistent, though. On the other hand, other powders tend to be cheaper. They tend to vary a little bit more. And so there's this sliding scale in the middle.
And these days, it's a lot of like, what can I buy?
Yeah, or what can you get? Sometimes when powder gets scarce, because when the ammo dries up, or when the shortage or the scare or the panic buy is on, the first thing that dries up is reloading components. When ammo companies have a hard time keeping ammo on the shelf, the first thing they pull back on is reloading primers and hobby powder. They're using all their production into loaded cartridges because there is more margin in loaded cartridges.
And if you get into this game, if you're like, for the 45-70, yeah, you're going to load up, a few hundred rounds, and they're going to last you 2 seasons. But for pistol stuff, 223, whatever you're like reloading, buy in bulk.
And what does that mean? Okay, this is my
huge.
This is my favorite thing from the store. When I used to work at the gun store, and people would buy a gun and they're like, "Hey man, do you get an discount on ammo if you buy in bulk?" I mean, yeah, you get a little bit of a discount if you buy in bulk. And they're like, "Okay, well, like how
200? Like
how much?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I mean, 1,000 rounds of 9mm probably costs." And they would just cut me off like, "Whoa, 1,000?" I'm like, "Yeah, you were asking about bulk." And they're like, "Yeah, I was thinking like 100." Like, "Oh, here's your 2 boxes. Get out of here." All right.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing this game, your unit that you think of, all right, like your minute of angle reference for quantities to buy is 1,000. Like,
yes.
Like, I'll bend over to pick up 500 off the sidewalk. Like, that's cute. All right. But like, no, I'm not buying 1 box of 500. Like, it's how many thousand are you buying? That's the game you're playing.
Good example here. A good deal. I won't get into details because I don't want to burn my source, but a good deal on some reloading components came up a while ago, and he had some 115 grain full metal jacket 9mm. I bought 50,000 rounds. Like, why? Because that's all the money I had. Like, I was back from the trip and I hadn't started my job yet. And that was literally like, I'm starting my job next week. I don't get a paycheck for 2 weeks. I have this much money. I'm going to buy 50,000 because that's all I can afford. And if there was more, I would go back and buy it today. When the deal comes up, buy big bulk.
Yep.
I have a friend of mine, when he was talking about having ammo loaded, his thing was when he has 10,000 rounds left, he considers himself out of ammo. So just start changing the way that you think about stocking up.
And not saying like you have to work in those numbers to play this game, but like you're going to be more like the stories we just told you than you are the person who buys 100 rounds. All right. So like you're kind of going to be like, I start buying at 1,000, and like I'll buy 2 or 3,000. I would say it's pretty rare for me to buy. I would say for a while before I kind of got to where I'm at now, it was pretty rare that I would buy more than 2 or 3,000 at a time, because that was kind of a lot of money for me, and that was kind of a lot of rounds that would last me for a while. But if you're gonna do this, you're starting to think in blocks. I'm gonna buy 10,000 for a year instead of buying 500 a week or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's the thing. So like Maxwell said, it's a game of pennies, and it's so just take like whatever your season is going to look like in terms of like how much you're going to shoot, and this varies quite drastically for everybody. I mean, some people shoot 5,000 rounds a year, some people shoot 50,000 rounds a year. So it just depends on which one of those people you are. So I try to think of it in terms of like, I like to have, if I can, sometimes I can't, but I like to have my entire year's worth of ammo loaded in about March. Like that way, when I come into the season, it's all just there on the shelf and I can just pull from it and go shoot. So I think about that in terms of buying, because especially if you're getting stuff shipped in, bullets are super heavy, so the shipping is a lot. Primers and powder both come with hazmat fees, but you only eat that stuff once per shipment. So if you order, 1,000 of everything, it's going to cost however much it costs, plus let's say, 50 units, whatever that is, whether that's $50 or $300, it's going to cost 50 units of shipping stuff. If you order 10,000, it costs the same 50 units of shipping stuff, because the hazmat fee gets applied once, the overweight fee gets applied once. Like it's just going to be cheaper overall if you just buy in the biggest quantities that you can.
Yeah. And I would say like my specific situation is different because of access that I have, and also I'm loading for the shooting team also, so I load for other people, which I won't load for you. Don't even ask. But there are people that I will load for, and so like I'm loading some ammo that we're using for work stuff, and so it's more when you got to remember this is not, well, I'm going to the range today, so I'm going to pick up some ammo on the way there, or this isn't, you don't want to do this hand to mouth. It's more of a commodities game. So you're kind of on the lookout for an opportunity, and when you see an opportunity, be it a sale, be it you got a certificate from a match, be it you come across somebody that's trying to get rid of their dad's reloading stuff or whatever, when you see an opportunity, you got to know your numbers and pounce. That's word to the wise. You want to have that frame of reference as much as you're able with whatever liquidity and assets you're working with.
Yeah, 100%. Well, without this turning into a full step-by-step how to reload podcast, which will be another thing at some point, I'm sure, I think that's pretty much kind of like the load development process for rifle and pistol stuff, give or take.
Yep.
Like it's quite annoying. My current load development process when I get a new rifle or a new pistol is I take it to the range with the ammo I already have and I go, please run, please group. And if it does both of those, I don't change a thing. I'm good to go. Like, I do not want to spend a lot of time driving back and forth in the range doing all of that stuff. So, yeah. And then write everything down, for God's sake.
Everything.
Have a, like, don't just write down this was the good one. Write down all of them. Have a note card where every single shot that you fire out of that thing, like it went into Group A was this big, the velocity of each of the rounds was this was the median, this is the standard deviation, this is the extreme, like write all of that information down. It will definitely save you a bunch of time down the road one day when your powder isn't available anymore and you have to buy something that you used 10 years ago, and you can just pull out that note card and be like, oh, this was the load.
Yeah, you'll never,
it'll be worth it.
It's really easy to say, oh, well, I'll never, once you find what you want, oh, I'll never use those.
No.
You'd be surprised. And you invested in developing a test batch. You put some amount of components and time and effort into a test batch. Write all that shit down, because when that day comes around again, if you don't have that card that you can look back for a reference, you're going to do it all again. And it's a pain in the butt. Like, it's a pain in the butt to make a test batch. Riser made it sound really easy, but like hitting those numbers on your powder charge, that's a lot of guess and check. So
this is the other thing too. It's like, especially if you're reloading on a progressive press, the press is designed to get it set to a powder charge and then make thousands of rounds of ammo. It's not designed to put down 3 and then change it.
Yes.
So you do 3.
There's a couple transitional loads
individually. Yeah, and then you do some transitional loads, and so it probably takes like 10 to get to the next increment.
Yes.
And you're pouring about. So like this like 20 rounds that you make for that first trip to the range takes more time than 500 rounds of just making ammo.
Pain in the dick.
Yes, huge pain in the butt. So, write that shit down.
And what I latched onto, when you get the little ammo boxes, the little CMC or CMG, whatever they're, the little ammo cartridge boxes, and they come with all those stickers. The little load stickers to put on the outside.
Oh, yeah.
I never knew what the heck to do with those things. So I was like, this is dumb. Like, I'm going to throw this load this time and this load that time. Like, I'm not stuck on a load. I'm not going to use these. What I use them for now is when I find a load that I like, I write it down on one of those stickers and I stick it on the powder magazine on my thing. And so I have 5, 6 of them on a given calibers, because I also, pro tip also, just if you're running Dylan, just get the quick change kit. Okay? Just get another tool head. Just do it.
Same thing for, like, I switched to the 1100. Now the tool head is like $350 instead of $80. I still just bought a whole nother tool head. Yeah. It is such a pain in the ass to switch all those dies. Like, no, don't do that.
Things I did longer than I wished I would have. Waited to get a progressive. All right. I loaded an ungodly amount of ammo on a single stage press. So it took me way too long to get a progressive press. It took me way too long to invest in tool heads. I would switch the dies every time when I would change calibers. It's such a pain. So instead, Dylan sells essentially a tool head that holds all your dies for a caliber, and it has a powder measure on it. So you can essentially set now, instead of having to change absolutely all that stuff when I change calibers, now I just have to take that head off. It's got all my dies set at the lengths that I want, at the heights that I want, and the powder charge that I want. I take that one off, put it on the shelf, put the one that I want into the machine. I switch the shell plate and a couple other things, but the number of things to change is cut in half, and all the things that are
less.
Yeah, even
like I bet it's cut to 20% compared to changing dies.
Yeah, changing dies,
and then all the reset.
Yeah, all the dies are set, all the heights are set. Really, I change a whole tool head that is already set for the caliber I wanted and the powder charge that I wanted, and then I essentially set the lower half of the machine to accept the cartridges that I want. And it's another $200, but it's so worth it if you load multiple calibers. Just do it.
Oh yeah.
So I'm only going to load like a handful of 4570 to mess around and shoot deer with. Oh, I bought that tool head. I bought that tool head.
Yep.
And so I'm going to play around with it a little bit and then go back to load 9mm. But yeah.
Well, let me know how that goes, and I hope you get your head shot.
Me too. Also, just because the mouth breathers are amongst us, any specific data that we mentioned in this episode was either made up, not real,
Yes.
or try at your own risk. Okay, so
Yes.
seriously, do your own research. There's a lot of great resources out there. Hornady's one, Hodgdon's another. Pretty much any brand of any powder manufacturer, they probably have some publicly available for free load reference. Look at those. All right, we're playing with propellants here, folks. So like, do your research. It's science. There are no safeguards.
Start low. Have a system to keep your powder separated. I have seen people turn guns into bombs by mixing up their rifle and their pistol powder.
Yes.
This is a game where you label everything, you take a lot of notes, and you are very, very careful.
Yep. If you use the stuff within the parameters that are advertised, nothing dangerous beyond what can just normally happen with guns will happen. But you are taking a lot of variables into your own hands, and you have gone off the reservation for any sort of liability protection you might have from manufacturers. So use any numbers that we have said in the last hour at your own risk. Most of those were made up. Just telling you straight up. Just for point of reference. And gosh, I thought I had something else there I wanted to say. Also, pro tip, PPE when you're hand loading, wear your safety glasses. I've had a machine go off on me 2 times. It's very, very rare. It does happen, and you will shoot your eye out. But yeah, this stuff is dangerous. So do wear some eye protection. Label everything. Don't mix and match. Is very important.
Yeah.
That being said, it is one of my favorite things to do. I love tinkering around with this stuff. I have access to factory ammunition, and I would still rather do this, just because I get what I want. So,
yeah.
There's
just something to be said for just like making stuff. Like I just like making things.
It's like making stuff.
And when you just like go down to the basement for a couple hours and you made like a couple thousand rounds of ammo, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's also one of those things, even though we're actually spending money, it's kind of one of those things where you feel like you're putting things back in the plus column instead of just consuming all the time. Like your ammo bucket fills up with ammo instead of just
instead of just going down.
Instead of just depleting.
100%.
But yeah, so that's all we have for you for today, folks. So go ahead, keep those translucent pieces of plastic with diameters etched on them handy, so you can argue with the scorekeeper as to what your hit was. And if you two can't come to some sort of agreement, just go ahead, pull the target, and call the range master, because this has been On the Perf. And we'll catch y'all next week.